Hello everyone, welcome back to the shop. Beautiful Friday out there, and yeah, my name's Kevin Chaney and this is my blacksmith shop, Red Maple Forge. Now today, normally Friday is scrap metal day, and this kind of follows into it, but not. So a couple of weeks ago on a scrap metal Friday, I made this guy, which is a feather incense holder thingy, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I'm gonna make two more of these. But unlike that video, I am gonna actually use whatever tools I have in my shop to actually make them. So I got two pieces, I think they're 2-inch angle iron, about a cubic long. I don't know, what is that? About 12 inches long. And we want to get this nice and hot, because the first step we're going to do is flatten that down. And to flatten it, we're going to be using the press. Last time I did this by hand at the anvil, and this time I'm going to, like I said, use every tool I can in my shop. So as you can see, the secondary camera is already set up at the press. Well, kind of already set up at the press. So we got a die switch to do. Currently I have my my bowl dies sitting in here. And I got to get my flat dies in here. Now, if this was something I was doing on a regular basis, I probably would make my top die have actually a little bit of a groove in it to correspond with the middle of that angle iron, or the corner of that angle iron, just so I don't flatten it down all that much. But I think today will be okay. So I got to get a water bucket because doing these on the stream, I have to quench them to move forward. Might as well open my window while I'm at it. So to move forward, I'm gonna have to quench them in water. This is something I really don't like doing because even with mild steel, sometimes you get questionable mild steel. And I have heard other smiths where they have actually accidentally hardened mild steel, and that didn't end up very well with them. So I tend not to quench steel, but, well, quench steel to cool it down. I usually leave it to cool. But because we're doing a live stream and I would like to get stuff basically done during the live stream, we're going to quench. So another thing I'm going to change up from last time is, last time I did it all, I cut it all the little bits out with a chisel on the anvil. Today we're going to be using a grinder, an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, and then once we get the basic shape cut, we're going to clean it up a little bit with a flat disc, just to get any sharp edges off. So we'll see how this guy's doing. If he's hot enough yet to get into the press. I think he is. And I would like to do this in one heat, but we'll see. This barely fits in my forge right at this point in time. So that's my flattened piece. I am going to take it over to the anvil a little bit because it did kick up a little bit on the edges. Again, this is something that if I was doing a lot of, I probably would have a die with that kind of spine already in it. So that's the first guy already flattened out. We're going to quench them in water to get ready for cutting with the grinder. We'll get the second guy into the forge. So this is going to move really quick. One side of this guy is nice and cooled now, I think. Yeah, nice and cool. We'll flop up the other side. And the secondary camera will move over to the vise so you can see me cut this beautiful thing. Yeah, come on. It'd be so nice if I had wireless cameras. Or at least one wireless camera. Probably drop you down. I think that would look okay. We'll see. So difference in quenching between water and oil. Well, difference between it is water will quench faster than oil. So you'll end up getting a harder, more brittle steel, depending on the alloy that you're using. I was going to mark this, sorry. So different types of steel will be quenched in different, either water or oil. And some actually are just, will harden in air. And a lot of that just has to do with what kind of alloy or like other stuff that's in the steel from just the carbon and iron. And it all depends on the steel, what you use to get what hardness. That is best to go, if you know what steel you're using, which I highly recommend buying known steel if you are doing any quenching where you're trying to harden it. Most of them will have data sheets out there, which basically tells you how to actually do the heat treat and what kind of tempering you have to do after. So if I'm using a mystery steel that I want to harden and I don't know what I need to use for it, I'll usually try and do oil first and see if it hardens. If not, step up to water. Now, one thing to say about that is I've had some mystery steel where I've quenched in oil, didn't harden, quenched in water, and it snapped because it got too hard. So, yeah. And basically, water cools it down fast, so some steel will get harder because of that. And the oil quenches is a little bit more gentle on the steel. And like I said, it's all going to depend on what type of steel you're using. So, with this guy, I have marked out roughly where I want to cut them with an angle grinder. Now, if you have a plasma cutter, you can definitely do this with a plasma. I do, but I don't want to get it out and get the air compressor going and all that. So. I'm going to put a respirator on. It's always good when you're grinding to have a respirator on. Now that the rough shape is cut out, I'm going to come in with a flap disc to clean that up, round those corners a little bit more, and just overall make it a little bit more leaf shape. So I'm just using, I believe it's 120 grit flap disc. It's a used one. Oh, sorry, 80 grit. Use 80 grit one. I'm just gonna pretty this up a little bit. So now that one is roughly cut, we'll go back to the second one and basically do the same thing. Just gonna put this camera aside. Whoop. And yeah, pretty well going to do the same thing on the other one. So I actually ended up snapping that off. So I kind of lost the stem, or like the bottom of the quill. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons why I normally don't quench stuff when I don't plan on hardening it. So this guy's going to end up being a little bit smaller. So yeah, it got a little bit smaller, and it looking a little bit more leaf-like than feather-like. But that's okay. So what we're going to do now is going to actually draw out this a little bit, so we can actually loop it around to make it incense holder, much like the original one is like. So it has just a little bit of a loop, so it can hold one of those incense sticks. I will admit, this guy is probably going to look better than the two I'm making right now. This one was a little bit thinner, not as wide steel. I think this was 1.5 inches, where that stuff is 2-inch angle iron. So 2-inch by 2-inch. So they might look a little different, and these might actually turn more like leaves than feathers, but they'll still look okay. So I'm actually going to turn up my heat a little bit on the forge, just so we can cycle through them a little bit. And I'm probably going to set up so I can actually work both of them at the same time. So I'm going to set up my bricks hopefully here, so I can actually hold the first one of them on this side. I don't have like a material holder on this side like I do on this side. This side has an arm that I can swing in and out. So if a piece is too long, I can actually just have that arm come out and support it. I tell you, my tongs have like legs. They walk around a lot. So we're just going to start drawing this out. And I'm probably going to draw this out to about 4 inches, which just happens to be the width of my anvil. And I'm hoping that I can work both of them at the same time. This one I left a little bit too much meat on either side of the seam, so I gotta be really careful that I don't fold it on itself. So I want to make sure that I'm keeping it straight. And this is no different than any other flat bar. If you're trying to bring down the width of it, you want to make sure that you don't go too much downwards and then start folding over on the wider side. This one so this is the last one I did, the cutting on. I left a little bit less material beside what I'm calling the seam. I guess the spine would be a better way to put it. So where the corner was on the angle iron. This had a little bit less of it, so I was able to work it a little bit more like a regular, square bar. So I got it almost to the size I want lengthwise. So on the next heat, I'm going to clean that up, round it off a little bit, and go from there. This guy I'm not going to try and lengthen as much as the other one because it's already at 4 inches. I'm just going to try and taper it a little bit, make it look a little nicer. And on that guy, I'm probably gonna do clean it up a little bit, round it off like the first one. whatever I'm calling the smaller one. Let's call it the smaller one. So here's the smaller one again. I'm just taking the corners down to make an octagon, hoping that I don't twist it too much. I did get a little bit of twist in here. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time straightening out that twist. This wasn't perfectly square, so it did twist on me. Especially around the body. Now I'm not worried about keeping this straight and lined at this point in time. After we curl it, we'll get that straightened out. Kind of looks like a stingray right now. A pointy nose stingray. Yeah, and this guy we're just gonna take down the corners. I'm not gonna round this guy up because he is more rectangle. I'm probably gonna leave him a little bit more rectangle. I'm going to taper the tip though a little bit more down. Didn't like it being really chunky like it was. Now going back to the short one, I'm going to start doing the curl. I am going to do a complete loop with this. Yeah. We'll do a loop on this guy. This one's going to be a little bit tougher to get it to move around because it is thicker. So I am spending a little bit more time with a little bit less force on my hits. So this guy, I already got the little tip on the little center of that hole is already centered down the spine. So I'm gonna leave him exactly where he is. He will get a little bit of a curl up afterwards, but I'm gonna do all the chisel work. I call it chisel work, but all the markings that I'm gonna put on these guys, I'm gonna do that next before I do the final tweak in of the incense stick holder. And I don't think he's going to fit in the side of my forge. So he's going to wait for a second before going back into the forge. This guy, this is a small one. He's a little bit out of straightness with the spine. So I'm going to kick him in a little bit, and hopefully not make a mess. think there is actually roughly where I want it. Again, I'm not going to curl this up yet because I'm going to do all the chisel work. It's probably going to cause some of this to shift and move around. So we'll get the chisel work done first. Now he's kind of looking like a little mouse. A little curly tail. Yeah. So we'll get the small guy in first. And for tools, I'm using to put the marks in. I'm thinking the small guy, I'm gonna use this ridiculous, what used to be a ball peen hammer. I have no idea how my grandfather got this, but he did from somewhere. Someone took a ball peen hammer, heated up the ball peen, and forged it out into kind of a chisel shape. And what's really weird, it does actually have a curve in it. So I have no idea what this would have been used for, but it makes a good tool for doing small chisel marks really quick in the steel. So I don't have to sit there with a chisel and go, This I can just go boop, 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 boop. I'm not sure what weight this is. It's probably, I don't know. I want to say 16 ounce, 24 ounce, but no. So that guy probably is heated up enough. So I'm just going to put my cross peen aside for now. And exclusively use my chisel thingy. My ball peen that's not a ball peen. And, whoop, almost messed that up already. I'm just going to start making marks along this to make the little definitions in the feather. And this is quite a random hitting, keeping an angle upwards from the bottom to make it a little bit more, feather-like. And what you might have noticed is my hammer blows are hitting pretty well at the same spot on the anvil, and it's actually the steel I'm moving underneath it. I find that way is the easiest way for me, and I know knife makers do that when they're doing bevels. Well, some knife makers, I shouldn't say all of them. And that's how I actually started doing this technique, where you're hitting always on the same spot of the anvil, but you're moving the steel around. Oh, I should just change the camera. There you go. So that's the start of the texture. So the first section I did, I was concentrating more on getting that edge done up. And then I'll start bringing it in on this next heat. Unfortunately, this guy, I can't get both into the forge at once. So he's just got to chill a little bit. Now another way you can do these feather look in it is use your cross peen, but instead of coming straight down, come down on an angle. So you're just kissing that side or like one of the edges of your cross peen. Will also give you a similar look. It won't be identical to my look with this chisel top tool, I guess. Oh, chisel hammer. I don't know. So again, I'm holding the piece on an angle, and I'm pretty well just hitting the exact same spot on my anvil and moving the steel as I need to keep it underneath my hammer. And as we get to the colder temperature, I can really see where my chisel marks have hit. So I can go back in and go over anything that needs to be a little bit more defined. And before the next heat, I'm going to straighten it as much as I can to make it the next heat a little bit easier. So that's pretty well the one side completely done. I am probably going to chop off the tip here to make it a little bit more feather-like, because right now that point is just wrong. It's very much leaf-like than feather-like. It is a very stubby feather with a point, and I don't like that. So I might actually, on this next heat, before I do any more chiseling, I'm going to take that tip off. And I'm going to use the Hot Cut Hardy for that. My forge is starving right now, so I'm going to have to do a tank switch quickly. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with the chisel. I'm just going to randomly hit, I say randomly, but I'm not looking for specific, distance between each hit or anything like that. I'm just kind of wailing away on it, really. This side is a little bit harder for me because of, me being right-handed and all that. So I am going over the whole workpiece for this side. So again, I'm pretty well trying to hit the same spot on my anvil and just moving the steel into underneath that hammer. and trying not to hit the spine. Unfortunately, I am on a couple of hits. So that's that guy. I might do a little bit more on this side just to get a little bit closer to the spine like I got on the other side. And then I'm probably gonna actually put this guy aside and start working on the other one, which is gonna look, I think out of the two will look better. I might come back and actually clean up both of them and like the profile of them with an angle grinder afterwards, just to make it a little bit more feather shaped. Like I said, they kind of went a little bit more leaf shaped than feather shaped. So. That's the two sides basically good enough. So I'm gonna actually curl up that guy a little loop so he will actually hold an inset. And while that guy's heating up, I'm gonna get my bigger guy into the forge to heat up. So I am doing a slight little S on these guys. Not as much as that. Slight little S, just to hold that inset. I didn't bring an inset out, so just use a welding stick as a temporary look for now, so I can actually see where I need to tweak it a little bit. And sometimes it's just a matter of getting a nice, almost V shape at the bottom of that. Well, you have to have a good hammer, but you also have to know how to use that hammer. A tool is only as good as the person using it. So I'm getting a pair of scrolling tongs out just so I can really bend that to the shape I want. I will keep my welding rod, which is filling in for an inset, on hand so I can test it. That guy I'm happy with. I know it's gonna look terrible on this. I'm happy with that. I think it will. I think that will work out. Okay. I think that, yeah, that'll work out nicely. So that's the first one. First one done. Yeah, I'm probably gonna take a grinder and clean this up ever so slightly when it cools off. So I'll just put this aside for now. We'll get back to the big one. And my weird chisel hammer. Unfortunately, whoever made this, it is actually angled downwards. So when I want to strike straight across it, I actually have to have an angle down, which is really weird. I'm used to having a straight down with like parallel with the anvil. So some of my hits are not the best with this chisel. But to fix that, I'll have to unmount it and rehang it, so it's okay. I don't use it that much. So again, I'm basically trying to hit the same spot on my anvil as close as possible and moving the steel into position and not the other way around. It is getting a little twisted out of shape, so I'm just going to come in, straighten it up a little bit before I continue on. And that guy needs another heat before much longer. Trying to keep my anvil clean. That's pretty well the one side done. So we'll get in there and get the opposite side. Getting a wee bit low on propane. I should have enough to finish. I hope. Not much more to go. Getting a little curvy here, causing the striking to be a little bit harder. Go in for another heat on that. Straighten them up now. Whoop. Might be a little too cold. Yeah, we'll get another heat on that so we can straighten it up a little bit better. But I am done with the chisel hammer. The rest is going to be with my cross peen. Just double checking how it's laying down on the anvil. That's pretty good how I want it. So we'll just get his little curl straightened up and where it needs to be. And that's going to be pretty well it. Okay, I got a little bit of cleanup to do. So these guys will get the same finish this guy did, the original. And you can't see, unfortunately, you won't be able to see the colors on it, but I also, after wire wheeling it, I did add some color to it, blues and purples, by using a propane torch to add the color. Also, I could have just left that in an oven around 450 degrees, would give me roughly the same effect for about half hour in a 450 degree Fahrenheit oven, or what is that, 220 Celsius. I like that. I like that. It sits pretty nice. So I gotta put the welding rod somewhere where I'm not gonna touch it for a little bit. So that's the big one. Again, when it cools down, I might clean up that tip, round it off a little bit more. Maybe round off in here and in here a little bit, make it look a little bit more feather-like. That's that one. So I just throw them on the ground. And I probably will do very similar on the small one. Just round up it ever so slightly. And then we'll do the wire wheel. And, well, I'll do the wire wheel. And call it done. So that is 2 leaf feather things from inset holders from random pieces of angle iron. So well, it's Friday. It's a long weekend for us in Canada. So I'm ready to call it a weekend. So thanks everyone for coming out Friday afternoon with me. And I will be off on Monday because it's a long weekend and I'm not working on Monday. But I'll be back on Tuesday, 1:30 Eastern time. And we'll be making a tool. What that tool is, I'll figure out for Tuesday. So thanks for watching, and yeah, see you guys Tuesday.